We've got some big board game news today. Brass Pittsburgh has been announced from Roxley Games. This is the follow-up to Brass Birmingham, which is the biggie, and Brass Lancashire, which is number 20 on the BGG top 100. Brass Birmingham, if you haven't heard, is number 1. Yeah. Still. Was it a couple years ago?
It was a few years ago.
All of that hot, huge, back and forth between it and Gloomhaven.
A huge moment when it passed Gloomhaven for number 1.
Which is pretty interesting because I would say while Gloomhaven kind of at the time represented a new type of game to creep its way up into the top 10, Brass Birmingham definitely feels more like a traditional game for the BGG top 10, and it's maintained its top number 1 spot. I mean,
ever since it came out, I remember the first time I saw these new Brass games, I was absolutely blown away.
Well, they were beautiful.
Well, they were beautiful. I mean, it was. I don't know if it was the first, but it was maybe the first time that I recognized the Cuddington's art style. It was phenomenal. But Brass was a game that I just kind of ignored for a long time. It had been out forever. But when Roxley did these new versions, I was like, okay, I'll give them a try. And the first one, Lancashire, was okay for me.
It's pretty much Brass.
It's just Brass, which I had remembered. I had played it once before, and I was like, this is the same game. But then Birmingham, you had asked me before if I thought Birmingham was significantly a better game, and it took me from thinking Brass was okay to really liking Brass. I really liked Birmingham, so I am excited to see what they do with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they took, for those of you who don't know, they took Brass, which is a Martin Wallace game from I think back in 2007, if I'm correct.
Early.
And they developed a little bit more, which is what they came out with Birmingham. And they launched those two games sort of side by side, so you could get both. Many people did. But Birmingham seemed to be sort of the slightly better version of the game, the favored version of the game. My big question here is with Pittsburgh. And just to give you a sense of what we know about Pittsburgh, it's probably not much more than you know yourself. But it's set in a slightly more recent, and I mean slightly, because Brass Birmingham took place in the sort of 1770 to 1870 range. This one is set further into the industrial age in the late 1800s, I believe, late 19th century, 1800s. So this is going to revolve around, obviously, America, with a lot of the industrialists sort of front and center. You've got Carnegie, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, and Frick. By the way, Frick is the one of those 4 names that I'd never heard. And you heard?
No, I had never heard. And I knew nothing about this guy. Let me just say that my mind was opened to when you reach a certain age, and you're like, how did I get this far in my life? And I've just never heard of this guy or what he did. But he was made steel manufacturing possible.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, part of
at least at the scale that they were doing it.
You came for news on Brass. We're going to give you a little bit of a history lesson, but I mean very little. Frick, we looked it up. He had a company that produced Coke. So Coke. And I thought, wow, Coca-Cola?
We know of 2 Cokes.
Why wouldn't they have said Coca-Cola? It's not Coca-Cola. That was the next thing we Googled, and it said no association with Coca-Cola.
And, it's not,
and then we thought,
not
Coke?
The illegal one either.
It's not the illegal Coke. What we learned is Coke is a fuel used in steel production.
Yeah.
Still, we haven't dug further than that, but it was a component used in steel production which made this very big. He was also associated with the Carnegie Corp.
Oh, yeah. Well, all of these people were kind of to get into the speculation of it, we don't really know exactly what this game is going to be. But the previous Brass games were 2 phases. They were the canal phase, and there was the train phase. And in the first phase, you built the canals. In the second phase, you built your trains. And Pittsburgh was literally like that. So I'm guessing we're going to see that same, Pittsburgh became the hub of steel production for the U.S. just because of its access to the rivers. And so while it's not the same as the canals connecting the network, I mean, these were big rivers that Pittsburgh had access to. So I'm wondering if we're going to be building out those the river connections and then building out, because as Pittsburgh industrialized, the trains came in, and that's kind of what brought in Vanderbilt and Carnegie and all these people. I don't know if you knew all this. Pittsburgh is the steel, that's where steel came from.
I mean, I know their football team is called the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I did know that they were effectively the steel capital. So it makes perfect sense that based on those sort of industries that Pittsburgh be the setting. It should be said too, this is effectively, it sounds like another version of brass. It's built on the same foundation that Lancashire and Birmingham were built on, but it does promise new mechanisms. We don't know anything about those mechanisms yet, but we know it's going to revolve around production of a lot of the things we just talked about. You're going to be building railways, pipelines, oil production, all sorts of things related to that. It also was worded very carefully. When I saw those names, I thought, oh, are you going to play as those characters? It sounds like you play, well, in fact, what it literally says is cutthroat industrialists.
Sure.
In the age of, and then it listed those names.
Well, I'm sure that these people are going to play an important role in the game.
Maybe.
Well, I'm sure they will, because in actual like real life history, which the other two brass games did a very good job of, like,
Opposed to fake history.
well, sure, as opposed to like a playful history or like a spin on history.
Sure.
In real life history, like if you wanted to produce steel, like these were the guys that kind of ran everything. They came in, these like industrialists, these tycoon guys, like,
Oh, yeah.
and like the oil
Nothing has
production,
changed.
steel
Nothing
production.
has changed.
So I don't know that you're going to be, if you're actually going to be producing oil, if you're actually going to be producing steel, you don't do those things in the original brass game, but you do have to get it. You have to buy it. So I could absolutely see some kind of new mechanic here where it's not as simple as just like going to, if you remember, you can connect to the different markets and you can buy stuff. I'm wondering if it's more of a, well, this is what, Carnegie is offering this round, or like, this is what Frick is offering. You need to like get the Coke as a, I mean, the fact that they even reference that makes me think it's going to be maybe a new resource that you're going to have to use. So
The game itself did not mention it. This was the Google search that said that he was
Why
associated
else would
with
he
Coke.
be in the game?
I don't know.
So, but it makes me wonder if you're going to be collecting these resources, giving them out, helping like produce the steel, and then buying it, like, or if you're producing it all on your own, which would be a little different than the way it's worked in previous brass games. But I could see that being an interesting new mechanic if you also were managing like a set of steel mills. Kind of, we've talked about this on the channel. Like Nucleium has a very brass feel, but you're building a layer on top of that where you're producing stuff. This almost feels like it might be similar. Again, this is complete speculation, but where you're also needing to produce some of the resources, not just buy them.
And in terms of speculation, this raises a couple questions too. And I'm glad you bring up Nucleium because, first of all, as you could probably already tell, these games are more Ryan's wheelhouse than they are mine. Not that I have anything against them, but they're just not in my wheelhouse typically. And I would say this. I am going to try Brass Birmingham again. A, it's number one. I feel like I need to give it another go. B, I played it once. And it was back when it was first coming out. And I'm just going to tell you right now, not the greatest experience. Doesn't have anything to do with the game. Had to do with the table.
And a game like this, sure. But also like, it's a big game to wrap your head around for the first play.
Yeah, so I want to try it again. So we're going to get a copy of Birmingham in here and try it. Maybe we'll do some content on that after that experience.
Sure.
Maybe it still won't be for me. But my big question for you, and for you, the audience, who are maybe Brass Birmingham fans, do we think that Brass Pittsburgh is going to accompany that on your shelves? Because I get the sense that Birmingham and Lancashire, is it Lancashire? Am I pronouncing that right?
Sure, close.
Birmingham is clearly the preferred version.
It's my preferred version.
I mean, the numbers on BGG suggest
it's the game, but better. Like adding that whole beer mechanic not when you're actually producing the beer.
And I would think that Roxley is approaching this. Well, obviously, Brass is a big game. You'd be crazy not to like maybe try to make another product in this line, but I don't think they're going to tackle that unless they think they've come up with some cool things to develop the game further.
And that makes me wonder, too, if this was a reaction to Nucleium. Not in a bad way.
I doubt it.
Well, not in a way of like, oh, we need to get something out there. But more of like, if they played Nucleium and we're like, oh, some of this stuff like feels very brass-like. And then if that got them thinking like, I don't know how long this game's been in development or design.
I'm sure it's been in development for a while. I also, no offense to Nucleium, I don't know that was on their radar.
I don't know. I have no idea.
You love Nucleium.
I do. I think Nucleium did a lot of what I love about Brass, and I would love to see Pittsburgh do some of the things I love about Nucleium because it's not going to be the same. I mean, we know it's not going to just be brass. Like there's already talk of like refineries and like all these different types of components that were not ever present in Brass. So I don't know, like when they're talking about these things, because again, in Brass, like you have your little grid of buildings and you're building your buildings. And when they see something like refineries, is that just one of the buildings that you're normally building? Like, we don't
Probably.
know, you know?
Probably,
or is it like
though.
a new kind of miniature? Like you put a little oil thing out?
I don't think that they're going to, I don't know about miniatures. I don't think they're going to make it so it's like, well, this doesn't feel like brass.
Oh, sure.
Like, I think it's going to feel like brass.
The card system will be there. The economic system will probably still be the same.
The question I'm getting at is, will this ultimately replace brass Birmingham? What's your thoughts? Do you think this has a chance of climbing up that BGG ladder
that's a good question.
and being in the mix?
No, I don't know.
Does it come after Lancashire? Is it between Lancashire and Birmingham? Does it go all the way and knock Birmingham off?
I think it will be my favorite of the three. I just have a feeling, I can already almost tell you that it will be probably my favorite.
Just because you think it will be better in some
Yeah, I just feel like they've spent a lot of time working on this. They've obviously spent a lot of time with brass, and these are the guys that developed the Birmingham stuff. So,
Gavin.
Yeah, Gavin knows what he's doing. So like, I imagine that he would not make this if it was not going to offer a big, maybe a different experience than Birmingham. I don't want to say better experience, but I think obviously his goal, like, there's no way he's designing this game and saying, is this better than Birmingham?
No.
No, they're going to try to make it better.
Yeah, they're not going to put out a game where they expect people to go, oh, okay, it's just like brass.
Right.
So we don't know much about it. Will we get a copy of the game in our hands at some point in the not too distant future?
I hope so.
Probably. Truth be told, I've even seen out of the side of my eye, not here in this room, I've seen an early prototype of it. One of the only reasons we don't have that sitting here in front of us is because it's not exactly camera ready yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be announcing a lot more details on this. If you have any questions about it, I'm not sure we'll be able to answer anything, but you can make them in the comments below. We will speculate. Yeah, if you want to speculate, get down in the comments. Speculate till the cows come home, and we'll get down there and speculate with you. And look out for their campaign, of course. I don't know right now off the top of my head when it's coming, but it's coming at some point in the future. But until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.